Unknown. Hey, man. Look, are you reading our guest comic right now?
No, bro. I was just wrapping it up because this is the quest. And in the long run, there'll be hundreds of them. Yeah. But tonight, man, I just we got a real special guest. And I swear the first thing I want to ask him, Hardaway, right? Real quick, I am the unknown factor. That is JDA Hardaway up in the house, right? But the first thing I want to ask him, bro, is he getting professional help? Is it helping? And if so, bro, can I get a reference? I really need it right now. I swear on my life. Right. But with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, Doug Wagner in the house.
Hey man, thanks for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate that. We appreciate you coming on. I still want to answer that question, Doug.
No, I mean the answer is no. I don't seek therapy. That's why I write comics.
Hey, I can dig it. That's why we write music.
Yep,
that's
why we write music.
That's my therapy. Yep.
I love that answer. So Hardaway,
I can safely say I will be happy to deal with that form of therapy for you than if you were to act out like any of your characters. Because as polite as they may be, when they get disrespected, damn. Really? A cleaning brush in the mouth, though? Like, that's how you had to do somebody?
Hey.
Like, bro, that's worse than Walking Dead ever did. Like, come on now. It's like you have a potty mouth. Let me.
You got to use what's in the hand, you know? Like
obviously. Now, see, my question is, since he asked that question, he already got his answer. My question is, why are you still in the industry? And if there was another industry you would jump into, what would it be?
So you asked me why am I still in the industry and like I haven't been kicked out yet? Or
no, they can't kick you out. I doubt they could.
I just gotta say, if y'all are listening to this, it just dropped. Plush, at least the first issue should be out. I highly recommend going and checking it out. That's just, but yeah, no, dude, are you serious? Do you not see some of the other comics that are written? I don't know how fucked up you like. I've read The Crossed, bro. You didn't cross that line. You feel me?
Yeah.
So. And I mean, what you wrote was phenomenal, but you didn't cross that line. And that's the only comic I've ever read that I was like, I hope it's never turned into any other form of medium. Keep it a comic. It doesn't need to be an animated series. It doesn't need, for the love of God, it does not need to be live action, right?
But Amazon needs to hit you up, Hulu or Netflix.
Yeah. As far as
Crunchyroll. Any service needs to hit you. Oh my God, an anime of in plastic would be amazing.
Well, no, see, but here's where my brother and my Zalian brother, man, he's right, but he's only half right. Because bro, I want to see vinyl, honestly, a little bit more than I want to see plastic. I won't lie, right? But I also want an answer to my brother's question.
Vinyl would be best live action, though.
True.
See, in an anime sense, plastic is like will be perfect for an anime, but when it comes to live action, I think vinyl would be beautiful.
Oh, to go back to Hardaway's question, like,
yeah,
I think like the reason why I'm still in the industry, honestly, is because I love it. Like, I love comic books. I love writing comic books. They've always been an integral part of my life. That's what I love about it. And like, I'm just in love with comic books. I mean, I think if I was in any other industry, man, that's always a tough one, right? Like, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I think I'd go to like maybe coaching sports in some way, like working with young kids and stuff.
Nice.
I love sports. I love playing sports. I've coached in the past, and just being able to help some young kids. Sometimes they're going through stuff you can't, some other people can't see, and being able to help them out in that kind of stuff. And I think sports is that avenue for a lot of kids.
I can dig it. I was a wrestler, so I can feel that.
Oh, yeah.
That is a phenomenal answer, Doug, man. So let me ask you this, man. I mean, when you was a youngin', because obviously you was a youngin', what got you into comic books in the first place, man? Like, what made you ever? Because I mean, that's something a lot of people never do. You know what I mean? A lot of people never pick up a comic book and go, whether it's the X-Men, whether it's when you're older and you're picking up something like vinyl. And first off, I pray to God, if you're a parent, don't let your child read vinyl. Right. Nothing against your work, bro. Nothing against your work at all, Doug. But there's a reason I like the fact that David Comic Book U will like check a 10-year-old trying to buy like a book like yours or Cross or something like that, because there's just material out there that should be read. But what do you think it is that made you pick up one as opposed to so many people that weren't, man? Because I know in my case, I was a rarity.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm a little older, so it's like back, we had spinner racks, that kind of thing. And as no big surprise to anybody, I was a weird kid. Well, I'm still kind of a weird kid. And I was just walking through it. I mean, old school 7-Eleven, man. The spinner rack was there, and I was probably like 4 or 5, and I saw like Casper and Flintstone, and so I started picking up Casper and Flintstone comics back in the day, and Hot Stuff and Wendy the what was it, Wendy the Witch and stuff like that. And that's kind of like what got me initially started. And once I understood the form, like then something like I saw like a Fantastic Four and an Avengers, and those started drawing me in. And dude, it was just like being the weird kid, being kind of a little bit of an outcast. It was one of the one places I could go that I felt like I fit in. As far as like in the comic, like I knew that like Captain America would be my friend, no matter what. So like, that's what drew me in. And I was hooked. I was hooked at like 4 or 5. Loved them.
That's a phenomenal answer. Right. And I love it. Right. Damn, man, that answer was so phenomenal. I forgot the question I had in the middle of the answer.
Oh, so
you distracted me with your answer, bro. It was so good.
All right, look, I got an easy question, okay? Out of your childhood favorite comics that you started reading and whatnot, which one would you pick up and add your flavor to?
Oh man.
Oh.
Guys, there's always going to be one. Uncanny X-Men. That John Byrne, Chris Claremont run. When you remember the first Hellfire saga. Where Wolverine's in the sewer and he's like taking on the Hellfire Club henchmen and stuff. To get a chance to write something in the Uncanny X-Men kind of vein would be, that's a bucket list kind of item. Like, I don't know if that'll ever happen because, as you guys have read my stuff, I'm not sure they'll ever let me touch the X-Men. But that would probably be my one that, like, man, if you could give me a shot at, like, maybe doing a creepy X-Men story, I would be all in.
So if you were touching basically Sinister, give them the Maker.
No. I don't want to give no names. I want Doug's opinion, right? So let's just say you were given full reign of that, man, right? Full reign, and you could do whatever you want. Who are you making the psychopath? Because I know you're gonna make somebody crazy, Doug.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
I think what I'd like to do with that is, you guys have kind of read the stories I put together. Is honestly, and I kind of had this idea in my head of Warpath and all the X-Men thinking that he's a psycho, and like he's actually the one that sees the truth, right? Like, but everybody's like, oh no, he's crazy. What he believes isn't true, but it is. So like Warpath would be like the one I'd really love to tackle and have that like be the catalyst that would set the rest of that X story up.
Can I say Marvel, I really honestly just want to hear that entire pitch? Like, no, I want to hear that entire pitch, but I know that's your least favorite part of the job.
Oh yeah. No, writers hate doing any kind of pitching. It's like we want to sit at the
desk. I just imagine that because I've read quite a bit of X-Men, especially the Claremont era and all that, and to set Warpath, and it's funny that you say that because my initial thought was, especially with your writing style, like, bro, you do X-Force better than anything else. Because, and I say that because specifically they let X-Force go fairly extreme. You know what I mean? So you would be more allowed to cross the line that Marvel really doesn't like to cross, that you very much did. Yeah. And I think it would be intriguing. So it's funny that you pick a character that is from X-Force. You know? Doug, I'm so intrigued by the entirety of this story. Why? I swear to God, this is the second time on the show that someone has pitched a story for a characters, then I'm like, oh, that's pretty dope. But then they tell this story, and I'm like, I would buy that. Like, without a doubt, I would buy. You're going to set off warpaths where, like, what you just described, and like I said, what Ari Mandela described in episode 3 with Batman, they're both genius stories. You know what I mean? That takes the characters in very different perspectives than what they've been. Oh, I know what my question was. Let's spin back to it. That's how my mind works, right? So you said you used to buy them on the rack on 7-Eleven, right? Man, that don't exist no more. We all know that, right? How do you think we bring that back?
Whew. I mean, dude, I think the industry's been fighting with that for years now. And I don't, because now, I mean, obviously, unless you're buying graphic novels at Amazon or Barnes and Noble, like, you have to go to a comic book shop. And trying to get the younger crowd into a comic book shop is just a tough sell anymore. You know, I mean, I know that I think we had an opportunity when the Marvel universe first started hitting hard. You know, like, people were loving that stuff. I think our big drop there as an industry was the books weren't anything like the movies when those movies came out. And so the kids went in looking for their Thor comic, right? Because Thor there was hot for a while. And at that point, when I think the first Thor movie came out, there were 16 Thor titles. How does the new reader navigate that? Like, what does the retailer tell them to, like, go, this is the way, did you like the movie? Well, none of them are like the movie, but this one might be close. So
and that's funny because I think of that with say Deadpool, you know, for instance, and I say that because I love Deadpool. Like, that's at a Marvel, man. That's like my top guy. I ain't even gonna lie.
Squirrel Girl.
Whatever, man. You and Squirrel Girl, I swear, bro. But look, it's one of those things where, sincerely, when the movie came out, there were an assload of Deadpool titles. You know what I mean? Like, there was an abundance, dude. You walked into a comic book shop and wanted to pick up a Deadpool title. With that, you had maybe 1 or 2 verses going on with him or some character and this and that. So that answer very much makes sense, and I get it. Now, I also read something recently that the Marvel Comics, they try to keep 10 years ahead of the MCU as far as storyline, which makes sense because, you know, you want them to have material. And I understand what you mean as far as the industry, but I think it was Stephen Grant brought up a great point, that when that all happened and when the MCU kicked off, it did something else to the industry because the people that were looking for stories to buy suddenly couldn't go to DC or Marvel anymore because they suddenly weren't selling their stories, because suddenly it was like, no, that's either a Disney property. I know y'all are still mad about Spider-Man and Sony having it, whatever, or it's a Warner Brothers property. You know what I mean? And that's just a fact. So it's made it to where they've reached out and done more things. Like, if the MCU never would have started up, I don't think we'd have ever seen The Boys or perhaps even The Walking Dead, to be sincere, as a series. You know, or honestly, hopefully vinyl. For me personally, bro, it's vinyl. I want to see vinyl more than anything. I can't lie. Out of the two, I want vinyl, bro. It might be the killer factor in me.
See, it might have took long. I think it might have took longer for independent, like, comic books and whatnot to get movies and TV shows and stuff like that. But the reason why they always had that option is because that's how manga works.
I mean,
that is an industry that is, like, conquering things, and it won't stop. So if the comic book industry wanted to, at any point, if, like, let's say they didn't create the MCU, you know what I'm saying, or the DCU or whatever,
DC,
if they never would have, whatever, it's if they never would have created those things, Hollywood still would have went to them at some point because of the stories that are there.
Well, then I want to know your opinion of that, Doug. Right? Like, when you look at the entirety of that situation,
I think you're both right, because, like, you know, I think The Boys would have been a tougher sell for a really long time if not for the MCU. But I think where Jay's going, like, I think with The Walking Dead, I still think that it might not have been as quick, but it probably like 2 to 5 years difference, because that book just was around for 10 years and had such a catalog.
That's very true. I agree. Hey, Bro, you know, if you call me Jay, it's going to get really confusing. Go with Factor because that's Jay too. It's going to get.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Or unknown. I don't give a damn. I'm just saying. It'll get real confusing because technically we're both Jay in a capacity in that.
Gotcha.
People will be like, who the hell's Doug talking to? Look, Doug's a little.
That would be funny.
If y'all have read Vinyl or Plastic, you know Doug's a little out there. We'll just leave that at that, right?
See, I would like to see what he'd do on a take of Silver Surfer.
Ooh, that would be an interesting one, right?
The psychotic Silver Surfer, dude. I don't. That would be an event, in my opinion.
Yeah, that would be an event for Marvel.
Yeah, that's not a comic series you could write. You would have to make that like the Avengers and X-Men and everyone came together to try and stop him.
Yeah, it's like take Silver Surfer and instead of making it necessarily a cosmic story, you make it a horror story, and that that changes things drastically.
So let me ask you.
You can do the viewpoint of You can do the viewpoint of the people on the planet and whatnot, seeing him come down and they're like what he looks like to them and whatnot. Because he looked more like a dark bringer of death rather than this silver shiny light of hope.
So let me ask you then, Doug, right? I mean, you initially said you started picking up Casper and this and that, and then you went to the Avengers, X-Men, more than Marvel popular titles. What made it to where you wrote horror?
Dude, I can't explain that.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that you can't explain it. I don't even give a shit.
I think that's my natural, that's where I always go. It just to show you like a little bit of like how my mind works in that way. The first superhero I ever created was when I was 7, and it was Butcher Knife Man. and so he just had butcher knives, right? And he ran around stabbing people. And so I thought that as a kid, I thought that was cool. But like in hindsight, I'm like, that's kind of horrific for a 7-year-old to be like pretending like he's running around stabbing people to death with butcher knives. Like,
you do know why that's funny, right?
Tell me.
Because this dude is a juggalo, old juggalo, like ancient juggalo, first 6 series, and I am too. So running with a butcher knife and a hatchet was something we used to do when we were younger.
Yeah.
I mean, look. Firstly, I don't claim that goddamn shit no more because I don't like.
I said when we were younger.
I don't like to be tricked, right? I don't appreciate fucking trickery. Don't present yourself as something and then be like, oh, it's Jesus, bro. Fuck off with that shit. I got no time for your fucking mythology. That's the end of that, right? Yeah, fuck that shit. But as far as I mean, I do very much like Blades, and I understand that. But it makes me curious, bro. When you say genre of film, like, how is that not horror?
Yeah, I mean that's to me. When I was a kid, it was superheroes. But now, like I said, I'm looking. I already warned you that I was a weird kid. Like I didn't see it as horror,
bro. I
that's the way
swear
it
I want to
was.
have an off-camera conversation, like off-show conversation about being weird kids and how deep that goes. But we ain't doing that on camera because one of us would get caught in something, and I'm sure the statute of limitations is up on it. That's neither here nor there. I just find it I find it odd. Like, do you consume a lot of horror entertainment?
Oh, I consume crazy amounts of all entertainment, but yeah, horror is one of them. And to me, like, I love like the more psychological stuff, like the old school, like The Shining, Alien, those kind of things. But at the same time, and you'll get where I'm coming from. I love dark comedy. So like Dale and Tucker versus Evil, The Babysitter.
Oh my God, yes!
I love those as well. So that's kind of like where my mix comes from.
All right. David Tucker versus Evil was like that was so beautifully done, so beautifully done. But no, I got a question. Damn it, unknown asked a question because I done forgot because he said David Tucker versus Evil and I done lost my shit. That was just like, oh damn, that blew my fucking mind.
I got a good one. I got a good one then. No, man, I already got a good one. You told me to ask a question. Don't even do that shit, right? So, if there was a movie, like a horror film that you could take and spin into a comic book, like any property, bro, you just had full access, like stupid. What would you go with?
Man, I mean, because most of, like obviously my first go-to would be Alien, but that's being done and has been done forever, so that's always my favorite, like that one has a special place in my heart.
I got to give you an Orange Cassidy thumbs up for that one because the Alien Predator and all the Alien versus Predator, especially the OG stuff, I absolutely love.
Mm-hmm.
I remember what I was going to ask.
He didn't even answer the question I asked. Hold on, Hardaway. Just hold it in your head.
I forgot.
You know what? I'm going to go with the babysitter. If I had one that I could turn into a comic, I'd want to grab the babysitter because there's some unanswered shit there. Like there's some devil worshiping, like immortality, special power stuff that they've never touched on. That's inherently in that story, and I would love to play with those characters.
Ooh, good choice.
That's dope.
Good choice.
Yeah, I'd read that, especially if you're the one fucking with it. Yeah, I'd definitely read that. Now, back to the thing of like you control, like consuming, not controlling. It'd be weird if you controlled the media.
That'd be great.
But that would be horrible. My poor little girl would know so many things she should not. but which is funny because like her favorite Spider-Man is like Gwen Ghost Spider, and I'm just like, she is not friendly. But the little version of her is really friendly. But no, back to the whole consuming media thing. And you consume a lot of media, and you like psychological more so than anything. What do you think of foreign film? Like, do you watch foreign films?
Oh yeah.
Awesome. All right. Have you ever seen Red Shoes?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. Yes. This is one of my favorite guests. All right. Now, next one, Reincarnated.
How old is that one? Because isn't there like an American version of that?
And if there was, it's trash. All right, so it doesn't really exist. So even if it was made, it no longer exists in my world. And if we get enough people to think that, quantum physics states that it would not exist. So,
well, I haven't seen Reincarnated, but I'm writing it down right now.
Awesome! It's so good, so good.
Was there a question, Hardaway, besides had he watched films?
No. Bro, we are kicking it right now. What the hell, bro? This is the quest. In order to go on a quest with people, you must know your partners in the quest.
That's true. And can I say real quickly, for all the past guests as well as Doug already, it's truly been a privilege for you to join us on the quest that is the questionnaire, right? Can I say, though, truly, I wish DC would do a better quest, man, as far as their films. I'm curious on your opinion on that, dude, like the overall entirety. You know what I mean? Because I agree. I do definitely wish DC films were better. Here, let me give you a pitch, Doug. I'm curious if you go see this movie, right?
So true.
Let's restart the entire DC universe. Screw everything they've done. The first film you do is Lobo showing up on planet Earth looking for Brainiac to turn him in, right? Because it's Lobo and he's just breaking shit. And Superman gets in his way and he's just like, get out of my way. And they just start beating the hell out of each other. No explanation for as far as like why like this dude is actually doing this for a while. Like he doesn't explain that he's going after what is very much a supervillain. You tell me that's not a way better movie than any Superman film that's ever been done?
Well, I don't know about ever been done, dude. You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, the first Christopher Reeve.
Okay, well,
like
look.
classic.
Oh wait, recently. How about that?
Okay, recently.
We'll
I don't know if I can argue with you. I mean, because I think it's good and bad in some of them. Like the first half of Man of Steel is pretty solid. It's the second half that loses me. The first half of Wonder Woman is some of the best superhero movie out there. It's just, again, the second half kind of falls apart. So your pitch is solid, but it's got to end well, man. Because if it doesn't have a cool finale that brings it all together, then you're going to lose everybody.
And can I say, to that end right there, man, I congratulate you, Doug, on literally writing 2. I'm assuming 3 because I'm not trying to downgrade plastic. Vinyl is better in my opinion. They're both phenomenal. I if I had time, I would reread both of them. I just frankly don't. I'll be real fucking honest with you, right? But I totally would. They're that good of comic book. I honestly just think vinyl's a little bit better, and it very much makes me anticipate Plush, which, as I said, you should at least be able to get the first issue right now in comic book stores. Shout out to Comic Book U, my local comic book store. I ain't picking up the comics, bro. I'll pick it up when it comes out in graphic. I do not have room in my life for that. I love you though, Doug.
We got we got to
Well,
start putting a graphic that says buy. It flashes by when
hey,
we
look,
advertise this.
they can find everything in the links below, regardless of whether they're on Spotify, Amazon,
Buy
Audible,
now.
YouTube, whatever. You'll be able to find all of Doug's work right there, right? And be able to go and purchase it very,
Open
very
your
simply.
wallets and purchase things.
But I recommend your local comic book shop. But back to my point, man, I congratulate you on the fact that you created stories that first in 5 issues and then in 6 issues, you built a beautiful story and then wrapped it up without looking at it like almost every other comic I ever read where there's at least, 24, 60 some issues. I can't think of many comic series that took something, created characters, made you care for them, and then just wrapped it up so poetically that quickly. One, congratulations for being capable of that. Two, why the hell do you think DC can't as far as in a movie?
Dude, I mean that's the question there is that's an enigma, dude. Like you think with all the people they have involved writing comics for them that they could lean on those people, like you see Marvel lean on them and go, hey, let's make sure this ending is solid. I mean, dude, I deal with a little bit of like that Hollywood stuff on a regular basis, and I'm surprised anything ever good comes out. Like, it's a minor miracle. Like there's so many people involved, and there's so many people that come in and go, "Hey, I need you to do this or do that." Ugh, I don't know how we ever get any movies out. Number one, or how they're good. Like I really don't.
All right. Look, I do have an idea. That's fucking hilarious. Excuse my language. That's hilarious. Look, the only way I can see the DC universe starting out properly, hold on, is if they literally start with Blue Beetle. They get everybody to watch Blue Beetle, and the reason is the original Blue Beetle, because the original Blue Beetle was the original detective of awesomeness. All right, Batman was just some dude running around in a bat suit beating up people for a hot second, but the Blue Beetle actually solved real hardcore crimes. All right, now, so you have the Blue Beetle do his thing. Everybody falls in love with him because it's hard not to. It's hard not to. He dies just like in the comics. All right, which brings a lot of people together. All right, so you start putting out the other movies and of the other characters and whatnot, but it isn't really a solid like, yeah, until he dies. Because once you start killing, like when you go off of that, killing off those characters and causing those identity crises and whatnot, bro, that's how they're gonna win in DC. DC is meant to be dark.
All I got to say,
this whole like hope is like, come on now. That was the only Superman was the hope, but he was even trash most of the time.
But look. All I got to say is DC. You have 2 phenomenal pitches from both the hosts of the Questionnaire now to reboot your universe. That's all I'm saying, right? But I'm curious, Doug, based on what you said as far as your interactions with Hollywood, would you feel comfortable giving them your work as far as in vinyl and plastic and what you have done in Plush to translate? Because I mean, I know Alan Moore didn't, to the point where he's like, don't put my name on them fucking movies.
Yeah. I mean, dude, that's, it's, I would, but I'd want to keep, some semblance of control so that I can, nix things and have say so in script and that kind of stuff. But it's a tough one. And I know where Alan's coming from, just like I said, the little bit that I've delved into it, it's surprisingly difficult because you start talking to people about a book and they're like, yeah, we want to change the entire concept, but just use the name of your book. And you're like, well, that's not what I want. Like, money's not that important to me. That Hollywood works on money, right? So like, they think if they throw enough money at you that you'll let them do whatever they want. And that's, with me, they're calling the wrong person. Like you said, I want to be able, if a Plush movie or plastic movie or a vinyl movie ever came to light, I would want to be able to put that on my resume and say, I'm proud of this. I don't want to have to pull an Allen and go, you know what? Take my name off of that, and I'm going to tell everybody I had nothing to do with it. I hope that never happens to me, because that would be miserable.
Well, I would like to tell Alan. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I would like to tell Alan one thing though. If it wasn't for those movies that he hated so much, I wouldn't have known anything about The Watchmen.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known anything about V for Vendetta. I would have never read these. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And because of those movies and everybody going, the movies were all right, but the comics were phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't because of that, it's just like the books that I've read. You can tell me Game of Thrones is a great TV show, but the books just use them as a urinal. And like, that's just the fact of the matter. Like Harry Potter, yeah, the visuals were great. The last two movies, pretty darn good. The books made it seem like the twins were just the baddest motherfuckers on the planet. All right. So it's like, no, dude.
Wait, stop.
Without
I'm gonna ruin vinyl for you right now. I'm sorry, Hardaway. You should have fucking read it all before Doug came on the show, right? How you gonna do the twins like that, bro? How you gonna do the twins like that, man? Like, you got me right here in the feels, bro. I mean, seriously, that's what I'm saying. As far as about what you built, even though those characters were completely psychotic, there was part of me that's like, I love them characters, and then you did them like that, but then you gave them what you gave them, as far as, you know what I mean? Like, it. Dude, you weave a hell of a story, right? And I understand, personally, I hope that never happens to you, is what happened to Moore, because I hope if I ever do get to see those in any kind of iteration, whether it's animated, live action, whatever, any of your works, I hope you can look at it proudly, because it means it'll probably be pretty damn good, you know? Which is what I hope for anytime I watch anything based on a comic book, just in the comic book nerd in me. So in that. I'm curious, bro. Like the list that you said lived up to the most. Wait, what?
He's had too much candy.
Whatever. All I got to say is, like, you said that every movie that lived up to the comic book the most. Man, all you mentioned was MCU, right? You don't think there's anything? Well, except you said Umbrella Academy. My apologies. I should have read that shit a little closer. You notice I noted that without even looking down, but that's besides the point. Why is it, do you think, specifically that Marvel has had such success in taking their properties, which are extensive, and making films that are making it to where it translates so well to film, where there's been so many other problems in so many other places, man? Like, look, and I love you, Garth. I wish Preacher would have been done way differently as a TV show. Like, there were things I think they definitely did right, but they obviously didn't do them right enough to where it continued and was able to wrap up, which is very sad to me, because I love the comic. But what it is that you think specifically, I guess, Disney is doing to do that so well to where everyone else falters?
In my opinion, I think it's because Marvel, and especially Kevin Feige, focuses on character first. They want you to fall in love with the characters first. And actually, a lot of the stories are fairly simple. And then you can't, I mean, the initial casting, dude, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark is the best casting decision maybe in the history of film. Like, he's a dick, but people love him, right? Like, Tony Stark is a dick, but you love him. Like, when they cast him, I didn't like it. When they Chris Evans, I didn't like it. Chris Evans is the greatest Captain America ever because he's relatable. People love him. Like, you know, I just think it's because they really focused on we're telling a character story first, plot is second.
Why did you initially hate when they cast Chris Evans? I need to know.
You know, I'd seen him in the Fantastic Four movie, and I was like, he's kind of like a pretty boy. He's kind of a little too silly for me. Like, I didn't know he had the acting chops that he has. Like, I did not know he could pull it off. I thought he's like, this is kind of a silly character. A lot of stuff he does is comical. I don't think he's going to be able to pull off the cap I love.
Shout out to Chris Evans. I agree. He's a hell of an actor. That's
how I felt about Thor.
Well, just to give you another film to watch, man. Have you ever seen Puncture with Chris Evans?
No.
It's a drama that's about the safety needles and how the hospitals didn't want to use the safety needles. I can't remember the name of the guy that invented them, but it was funny because he was also a heroin addict, but he made it to where like the needle could only be used once, like because it retracted after use, which is such a safety thing. And the way he played that role, I think it definitely showed that he had a whole different level of acting chops. So it's just funny to me that you say that, man. And I highly recommend the film, even though it's not comic book fucking related at all. It just shows you how screwed up the real world is, right? Is that what makes you write the characters you do, Doug? You look at the planet and go, Jesus Christ.
How could you ask that question? Man, his main characters are the coolest, nicest niggas you'd ever run across, as long as you didn't disrespect them.
Yeah. I mean, that's.
Bro, can I say, I don't like. He hasn't read all of Vinyl. I think Snap's got a whole different level of problems than everybody he runs with. That ain't nothing to do.
Well,
with
I'm mainly talking about Plastic. Like at least Plastic.
Well, okay, yeah, fair enough. Plastic it is, but Vinyl, sometimes you're just a victim of fucking circumstance in the wrong area at the wrong time. You know what I mean? That's definitely the vibe I got from it. Man, it's just mundane. I just need. It'll be glorious. It was glorious. You know what I mean? Like, for real. Like, that's not just they're not. They're killing for the joy of it, and that can be problematic. So no, Hardaway, you need to finish that shit and sure.
Well, mind you, I'm not talking about Vinyl specifically. When I say the thing, I'm mainly talking about Plastic.
And can I say, out of curiosity, when you were writing Plastic,
that one a lot.
Did you have any draw from Hannibal Lecter?
No, I mean honestly, Plastic was one of those very unique. Like a lot of times, I get an idea for a story and I just have little pieces of it, and then it takes me a long time to try to like figure out that puzzle. Plastic entered my head all at once and was there. Like it was just one of those magical moments where like I had the idea of Edwin saying to Virginia, "Buckle up, Virginia," and the rest of the story just fell into place immediately in my head.
Yes.
So that one was just magical. I
can't
explain how that one.
I think you might want to seek help, bro. I know I do too, and I don't take that advice either. So I'm not necessarily saying you have to take that advice, but I'm just saying from one individual that probably needs help that's never going to get it, I think you might want to too. But I got a curiosity question.
I got a question that. Oh, damn it.
Oh, see, no, you got to let me spin this one, Hardaway. Keep that in your head.
Yep. Go ahead.
What is it that made you choose the series titles that you did? Because I think that's something that stands out really hard. Like you're writing 3 series right in a row. You're also writing. Oh, that's gonna piss me off, Doug.
Beware the Eye of Odin.
Well, I know, but you got another big one running right now. I've seen you post about it. No, man, not that. The Vikings.
The Vikings.
Yeah.
Beware the Eye of Odin.
Beware of Aggoth. Okay, I haven't had the chance to read that. I do definitely want to pick it up in the future. Sorry, I couldn't remember the name of that, Doug. We might be practicing the religion of hip hop over here, but that's besides the point. But what is it with that trilogy that you decided? I mean, Plastic, Vinyl, Plush.
That was an evolution. Like the first time we pitched Plastic, it was actually the title was Carnal Plastic. And so one of my good friends, Kelly Hamner, he was reading the pitch and he goes, "Why don't you just call it Plastic?" And I thought that might be too simple, but like the more I said it, the more I liked it. And so Daniel and I decided to go with that one. And then after it was, because there was plenty of people telling us not to do that book. I mean, I was told like it was going to stop my career, like kind of thing. And then when it was far more successful than we thought it ever could be, Eric Stevenson from Image came to me and he was like, "Hey, I think you need to do a trilogy." And I was like, "Oh, a Plastic trilogy?" And he goes, "No, I think you need to do a trilogy. They're all kind of in the same universe, but you need to like think of different materials." And so honestly, dude, from that point on, I mean, Eric planted that seed in my head and I was like, "Yeah, we're going to do material trilogy." And so go ahead, Hardaway.
Yeah. No, the question is this. I'm sorry. Is the reason why you named them? I noticed in plastic, the man had a fetish for plastic.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And it seemed like in vinyl, in the first few pages that I've read and whatnot, dude, Snaps and whatnot, had a thing for vinyls. All right. And I'm assuming that the next person in the next one has a thing for plushies.
You are correct.
So wait. It's oh damn it. What are they called? Furry. It's a furry.
Furry.
It's a furry.
Mm-hmm.
In all right. Look, go enjoy Plush. I don't even want to spoil anything for myself or anyone else.
But before you go on your little thing, I did have a question before
Ask
that.
it.
All right, cool. I wonder what you would do with this idea. All right. I just gotta make sure ain't nobody else around trying to steal my shit. All right, look. Real talk. I had an idea for a hotel. So kind of like that crazy hotel in Chicago, you know what I'm talking about, the serial killer. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, instead of him killing like normal, regular people and whatnot, it was a hotel for serial killers, and they might not make it out.
Yeah.
I was like, what would you do? Like, how would you roll with that? A hotel that it only invites serial killers for a getaway, and they just never get out because the serial killer, the people who run the hotel, is like a family of serial killers that wants to kill serial killers to put their skills to the test to become the best serial killers.
Dude, I think that's a great idea. Like, yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me a little bit of, the Continental and John Wick. It's like, yeah, you do the same thing. You could bring these serial killers, but like, I like the idea of like, they think they're coming there for some other reason, but they're really being baited to almost like test their worthiness, right? Like, how good of a serial killer are you?
Yeah.
Like, and I would obviously want to take the viewpoint of like somebody that's been invited, and then like, they think they're going for, oh, it's a getaway and they understand me and they get me and we can relate and, like we can get together and hang out and go to therapy together. And it's like, oh no, it's the exact opposite of that. This is like a trial by fire, two people enter, one person leaves kind of thing.
All right. Mm-hmm. Firstly, Hardaway, you should just give Doug permission to write that story. I'm sorry. All right.
I only want 10%.
I want 10%. I can work that out.
Right.
Yeah,
all right.
10% isn't that much.
Totally. Right. Secondly, well, let's flip back because Hardaway, I needed a second to remember my question. I'm really glad you had a good one. Right. So in vinyl, man, you specifically have him using music as far as to remember moments, in which Jesus, that was a ridiculous vinyl collection. Like,
at the end. Yep.
That was a lot, right? What was it specifically that drove you to where you wanted to give the patient Alzheimer's like that and make it to where he was only able to really become Snap with the music? Like, what drove that thought into your head, and why specifically music? Like, that's real particular.
Yeah, I mean, when I was coming up with Walter, the character, I wanted him to be kind of like at the end of his days, right? So like he realizes like how much he doesn't have a lot of time left. I think it's what a lot of people think about, as we get older is like, man, how many years do I honestly have left? And so then memories become cherished items, right? Like then you go, well, you know what? I'm gonna go hang out with the questionnaire guys at a con because like I want to build memories that like I remember forever, kind of stuff. And then what would be the worst thing that could happen to you? You can't remember them, right? You can't remember the people you love and the people, these wonderful things you did. And so that's where it kind of like, I was like, man, that would be the worst possible thing. And then I was reading some stuff about dementia, and actually music therapy is something that works. And I was like, okay, so you want to remember that you're a serial killer and that you kill people. And so I need to listen to music to remember it. And so that's where that kind of like that whole thing evolved from.
I never want to be that kind of your special friend. Let's be clear. If you ever put a fucking Doug, where I'm chilling out, and you're like, "Hey, bro, you got to check out this vinyl," I might be like, "Yo, bro, I'm out."
I don't want to listen to any music with you.
Like, we can listen to music, but just never a vinyl record. Okay? If you bust out a record player, my ass is gonna be like, "Yo, Doug, I read this book." Later.
Hey, he might pull a George Carlin and put you in digital purgatory. Just move you back and forth. That was my favorite thing about him was when he did that. His last stand up had me rolling. But all right, that's besides the point. If your characters had a favorite candy, what candy would that be?
I mean, obviously with Edwin and plastic, I mean, he's obsessed with donuts.
Yeah.
So I think like if you had a favorite candy, it'd have to be. I don't know if you guys have seen this stuff. I'm sure you have, but like in Japan, they have an insane amount of different flavors of Kit Kats.
Yeah. Yes, they do. Oh my God. Yeah. Their green tea Kit Kat is the.
Yeah, I think he would be obsessed with those. Like he'd be like, "Oh my God, the Kit Kats in Japan are the best. I want to try all the flavors." Man, with Walter, that's a tougher one, right? Because I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is Snap, right? And it has to be Pop Rocks because Pop Rocks not only pop, but they also have a beat.
Yeah,
so like there's like alleged, meaning to it. It's like, oh yeah, while they're in their mouth, they're creating a beat and they're snapping. I think that's what I go with.
That was a really deep answer, Doug. I didn't expect that dope of an answer to come from that question. I'll be real honest, but that so makes sense for the characters, right? But I want to know, what do you think the twins is munching on?
The twins are going to be like, man, they're so crazy. Because I think they're going to do something that's like, they're going to want some kind of like Halloween horror style candy. So the first things that come to my mind are like, those finger cookies, the cookies that look like fingers. Like that, I don't know if there's a candy that's like that though. Like, I mean, they don't make scary candy.
Can I be real honest? To me, I just figured it was a Twix.
Yeah, I mean, right, left side, right side. Ooh, you're onto something. You're onto something. I like the way your brain's working.
Just saying, man. It seemed like a fucking phenomenal answer. Right. You know what I mean?
Just because it was the obvious one doesn't mean I'm going to get it. So.
Bro, I'll send an alien after you. How about that? I still want to know, you know what? Let's cut back to that, man. I'm curious. Because, I mean, I know you said it's been done over and over again, right? And, I mean, that's true. I've read so many comics and books in the Alien series, as well as there's these series of films. What's your pitch for that, man? Because I know you got one. I know you got something in your head you've thought about that. I can just kind of tell.
I mean, surprisingly, I don't.
Really?
Like you said, there's been so much. And Alien and Aliens, to me, are like the pinnacle of some movies, right? Like they're on my like top 5 list kind of stuff. And so, it's one of those where like I love it so much, I would have to really sit down and really try to come up with, because I don't want to do what's been done. I think that's the problem with like the new movies with the aliens, is they just kind of keep repeating what they've done previously. I would want to try to come up with something, but I've always thought like I don't want to know the origin of the alien. Like that to me is like the most horrific thing is there's something in space and we don't know where it came from or how it works. It just infects our body and blows our chest out. Like that to me is like the most horrific part of it. And I'm like, I don't need to know where they came from. But putting people in those situations where you have to deal with that kind of creature, which I mean, if you love the movies like I do, they're like the perfect weapon, right? I mean, okay, well, I'll just shoot one. Well, then your ship's going to fall apart because it's going to melt from the acid. Okay, well, I'm going to run from it. Well, you can't because it can sense everywhere you're at. It's the most horrific space creature ever.
I do have a question for you. Have you ever read the book Bug Hunt?
No, I haven't read Bug Hunt.
All right. It's an anthology in the Alien universe.
Real quick, right? Hardaway, I don't mean to interrupt you, but doesn't that end with Earth War?
No.
Okay, I might be thinking of a different trilogy. My bad. As we've said, there's been a lot of alien material out there.
Bug Hunt isn't a trilogy; it's an anthology. It's just a little group of individual stories and whatnot. But they have Hicks' origin, where he starts and whatnot, and you find out why he's just so hateful towards anything that moves and scuttles. You know what I'm saying? You find out real quick why
Oh,
he's a
okay.
G.
Okay.
All right. Because like his origin story is just something so fierce. Like they go so hard. And the thing is like, yeah, you have to it's hard to come up with an idea with aliens, but you got to remember this one. They can infect any living organism, including insectoid. All right. So can you imagine if they infested, like, I don't know, made a small enough egg to get into ants?
Yeah.
All right. And since ants breed so freaking thick, it's what?
No.
A
Oh,
little ant
look, no,
queen
no,
will
no, no,
pump
no. I
out.
love your point, Hardaway. Can I make it
You'll
so
have
much more?
ants.
Hold on, no. Let me make it so much more screwier, right? Right? But I got to cross some universes. I ain't gonna lie, Doug. You can't tell me this wouldn't be phenomenal, right? No, give them the bugs from Starship Troopers.
Oh, those huge things. Yeah. That
Yeah,
would be
see,
A
that's
amazing.
horrifying.
xenomorph coming out of that, I don't even want to see. Like, I don't. I'm good.
Because that's one of the things, like in the comic books and whatnot, they tested to see what they can infect and burst out of. They had the snake alien, which was 16 feet tall. You're just like, what the hell, bro? You came from a 2-foot snake. All right. Like a freaking alien gorilla. That was horrifying. I
All right,
actually
hey,
owned the toy.
let's flip this though. Let's flip this though, man. As far as crossing universes, right? Let's say you take everybody from Vinyl and throw them in Hell's Kitchen. How do you think that goes over?
Dude, I'm a huge Daredevil fan. So, I mean, throwing me in there where like you'd possibly have Elektra and Daredevil mixing with the characters from Vinyl, and
And
I
not
mean, because
liking them at
like
all?
yeah, like or they is Matt Murdock first forced to work with him in a way, like they're on the same path, right? So like he has to team up, almost like I mean, they've done it with Punisher and Daredevil, Elektra and
Oh
Daredevil, so
my.
like completely different. Like here's Matt Murdock, who he knows like Mr. Law and Order in a lot of ways, and he has to team up with somebody like Guy or Rennie, and you're like, wait a minute, did you just skin that person alive? And you're like, yeah. like, I'm not okay with this, but I have to work with you until this story's over. Until this quest is over. And yeah, I think that could be a lot of fun. Daredevil's got superpowers. I mean, I don't know how he does against Guy. Because like Guy's a lot like Kingpin. And it's like, yeah, that one's gonna be a tough one for him. Rennie's so crazy, I just don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think Walter will end up killing Daredevil with his billy club. So that's the way that's gonna go down.
I just want to see the image of that at this point. So I need somebody to draw me Walter killing Daredevil with his own billy club. And then just send it to Doug, because that's phenomenal.
Yeah, I can see quite a few iterations of Daredevil getting murdered by Walter. Because I mind you, I did like skip a few pages in and see some things. It's my ADHD, bro. I got to see what I'm getting myself into. I can't help it. All right, but there's some like extremely like evil versions of Daredevil, like the ones that have like his mind cracked and broke and whatnot. That would be more interesting than any of like the hero versions of Daredevil, because I think he'd die. I think he would die really rather quickly. But like if you had any of the darker versions, that would be a more interesting read.
Let me
Just like
flip
if
this
your
though,
characters had to deal
right?
with the Punisher. Oh my
Yeah.
god,
Oh,
that would be a phenomenal read.
agreed. But let's flip this, man. So, like I said, unfortunately, I haven't been able to read The Eye of Odin unless you sent it to me in that, and my dumbass just should have. And my bad. I don't have as much time as I'd like to, and we'll just leave it at that, bro. I don't have a stack of graphic novels like this I need to read. I swear on my life, it's probably thicker. But I mean, with The Eye of Odin, from everything I've seen, it doesn't seem near as horrific.
Oh no, yeah,
Right? Okay,
totally different.
that's
Totally different
the general
genre.
vibe I got off of it. Like I said, I intend to pick it up. The graphic novel for that hasn't dropped yet, right?
Yeah, it doesn't come out
Yeah.
till December 18th.
Okay, that's what I thought, man. I'm honestly waiting for a couple of graphic novels from a couple of past guests. I guess I have to add that at my list at Comic Book Q. They're like, dude, you don't have comics. No, I just have graphic novels. Whatever, just get it. I love you, Rob. What do you think is the difference in writing as far as just your vibe? And is it moments where you just get on a vibe and you're like, oh, I want to, write something not as dark. And then there are other times where you're like, oh, I got to write this screwy shit,
Yeah, I mean, I love delving into all of that. So like with Where the I've Odin, like Tim Odin, the artist, who's actually like first generation Norwegian, so he's actually a Viking. He came to me and he's like, I want to write Vikings versus trolls, and I want to kind of like channel the old Ray Harryhausen movies, Jason and the Argonauts, stuff like that. So that was just like me going, oh, I love those. And what's funny is like when you look back at those, a lot of them there was a horror element to them. The Cyclops movies and all the monster movies that Ray Harryhausen did. And that's where we just wanted to kind of channel that, but like not necessarily go with the full on, what I love is like, the gore and the straight up horror is more like, hey, we want to just write a quest of Vikings fighting monsters. And so that was like just a fun, like, hey, let's have fun doing this, but try to always, keep the character stuff the most important. What is their journey? And so, I mean, it's just, now with plastic and vinyl and plush, that's me and Daniel sitting in a corner giggling, going, what's the most messed up shit we can do? And that, he and I will spend way too long discussing like, so if Guy rips somebody in half, would it be long ways or short ways? Like, how does that look? And so that's the kind of stuff he and I spend time on where, Tim and I are like, hey, how many different heads can a troll have? So it's the same kind of thing, but like there's just a different flow to it in your head. Where like one, you're trying to kind of almost make yourself a giggle, but not in a good way. You know what I mean? It's like I shouldn't be giggling at this, but it makes me laugh. So like I think that's the big difference. Like one you're purposefully trying to do something that makes you giggle uncomfortably, and the other one's about having fun.
We gotta send them torture music by Wu-Tang Clan.
I'm really surprised, in all honesty. There's like your musical choice kind of threw me off. I'll be real honest, especially just based on what I read. I don't know, maybe if it should have so much, but I felt like you listened to darker music, man. To be real honest.
Dude, I'm all over the place. So I mean, just like I know a lot of people have a tendency to like fall into like, oh, I'm a horror film person, or I only listen to say pop music or country music. I'm that guy that listens to all of it. I just want it to be good. But like when you talk about something like, I mean, you can't deny the brilliance of the song Thriller from Michael Jackson, which is a horror song. At the end when Vincent Price comes in, maybe one of the best things in the history of music, right? And so, like, when you're like, hey, what's your favorite song of all time? I'm like, man, it's really tough for me to break down Thriller because the first time I heard it, I was like, holy shit, this is the first time I've ever heard like a true horror song from somebody like Michael Jackson. And then when Vincent Price came on, I almost shit my pants. Like, so like when you talk about instant impact, that was a song.
No, I feel you.
So I think it just goes back to a lot of it's nostalgia. And, like if you want to talk about, like, I love Def Leppard. That Pyromania album was a huge part of my life at that time. So I will always have great, thoughts about it. And Def Leppard was at the point in my life when I decided I wanted to be a writer. So of course it's going to have significance, right? Like, yeah, I mean, then we can talk about the Charlie Daniels Band and Taylor Swift and, like.
That was a weird jump and then another weird jump.
Oh, yeah.
Doug, I absolutely love it. But
like this Houdini.
What do you think about Dierks Bentley, though?
I'm not sure I'm familiar with him. So.
All right. Well, hold on though. I gotta make another weird jump, right?
I like him, but
because
jump.
I didn't notice this particular part of your answer on the questionnaire until just now, which is you listened to.